Welcome! Welcome to the Rote Repertoire Remix webinar. And the reason why it is called a remix is because I've done two previous webinars on my Rote Repertoire series. And the first one was an introduction to it. It was all about how and why it all started. And the second one was about how to compose with Rote Repertoire. So today it's going to be kind of a mashup of the two. So I'm going to be showing new repertoire, different from the previous webinars. So if you attended them, it'll be all new. There's a bonus for attending live, which we'll talk about later. So thank you all for being here. And it'll go for about 1 hour, 15 minutes. And I just want to let you know that we are competing a little bit with airplane noise today. These are the joys of living under a flight path. So I'm very sorry if you will hear some zooms going today. Okay, so I thought we might start with a warm-up. And I'm going to first I'm going to just play you the chords that I would like you to play for your warm-up. And we're going to do sort of Spanish sounding chords. So we're going to start with A minor. And then we're going to go down a tone. You probably can't see my hands very well. Then we're going to go down a tone to G major. Then we're going to go down another tone to F major. And then we're going to go down a semitone to E major. And I'm going to play these in a pattern. This is what I call Spanish chords. I'm going to play these in a pattern and you can play it back to me. So. So it's A, just a single A in the left hand. G. Okay, let's try it in a different way. Let's try it this way. Let's try that. Actually, what I would like you to do, I'm just about to show you some music. Can you put your right hand up an octave to A minor, the first A minor chord above middle C, and then your left hand can be on the low A, that would be in the first space in the left hand. Now I'm going to show you some music of what we just did. So here is the music. All right, this is the warm-up that we just did based on these chords. Okay, so now it's going to change a little bit. I'm going to scroll down a bit, and can you see the difference between the first line and the second line? In the second line, the right hand has gone down an octave. Now that's pretty much what we played before. So the second line, right hand goes down to the middle of the keyboard. So the second line sounds better. It is a little bit harder to read though, but that's okay. Now spot the difference between the second line and the third line. What is happening here? Can you see that the G sharp has disappeared in the final chord? Okay, we can see some nodding. So let's play these chords. Sounds very different, not quite as satisfying actually. And so now, can you spot the difference between that line and this final line? What's the difference here? It looks very similar at first glance, but actually the left hand has gone down to start on F instead. And so now listen to this sound. So we have gone from Spanish to jazz in just 4 lines. That was our chord warm-up. And this is pretty much, the reason why I wanted to do this with you is because this is the process that I use in my whole Rote Repertoire series. We play something by rote first, then we see the music, then we spot the differences in the music, and then we end up with something quite different. So I do that little warm-up with lots of my intermediate students, just getting them to play it back, and I ask them which one they like better, the Spanish one or the cocktail one is what we call it. Okay, so that was pretty much an example of the process. Now I would like to introduce the wonderful Beth, who helps me out in every webinar, and I'm so grateful for her because Beth has compiled results of the sign-up questions that you all answered when you signed up for this webinar, which were, do you use rote teaching? Do you, and have you ever equated it with sight reading? But what I would just like to mention is that I had such a wonderful time reading through all your comments of what you hope to get out of this webinar. It was mostly people saying, I just want a refresher. I just want to learn more about rote. I'm really curious as to how to combine rote teaching and sight reading. And a lot of people just wanting to know my definition of rote and how I incorporate it into music lessons. So here is Beth with some poll results.
Yeah, so it looks like we have a lot of registrants who are currently using rote teaching techniques. 76% responded yes. But when questioned how often they use rote teaching, 2 use it exclusively, 28 very often, 62 regularly, and most, like myself, 119 occasionally use rote teaching with their students. When asked about if they link rote teaching to sight reading, 40% responded yes and 60% responded no.
Thank you for that, Beth. I think that is so interesting. In terms of my own use of rote teaching, I would have had not only like prior to say 5-6 years ago, I would not have even been occasionally. I would have been never. I never ever used rote teaching, and that's because I thought that rote teaching was bad. Rote's got a very bad reputation. And I thought it was really bad. Hands up if you have previously thought that rote was bad. Anybody? Okay, yes. I also was under the impression that if I showed my students how to play something, that would prevent them from reading it on the page. Hands up if you also think that if you teach them by rote, it stops them reading. Well, if we never ever show them the music and only show them how to play, sure, that stops them from reading. But if we immediately show them, oh, this is what you just played on the page, it doesn't stop them reading. It helps them read because it makes it relatable. And when you think about how children learn to read their native language, first they speak it, then they read it, and they learn to recognize little words here and there, and they understand that spoken word relates to what's on the page, and that's how they learn to read. And learning to read music is no different. So I've changed my mind about rote. It is a tool for being able to teach sight reading, and that was the main reason why I started out writing this rote repertoire series. It's actually a sight reading tool, but it has also become a tool for creativity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, if you already do use any of the rote repertoire pieces, and if you have found it helpful for sight reading and creativity, what would be fantastic is if you just could pop a little sentence in the chat at some stage about whether you found it helpful and whether your students enjoy it, because that would be excellent feedback for me and also for other people here who have never used it. So that would be really fun. A quick definition of rote for me is that is teaching without any reference to a score, showing both through visual and oral, showing a student where to put their hands and how to play it. Teaching by ear, which is more what happens in the Suzuki method, for example, is kind of the same, except it gets rid of the visuals. So we're purely listening. It's actually harder. Playing by ear is a wonderful, wonderful skill, and is actually harder to learn something just by listening than it is to be shown also the visual patterns of where your hands should go. So that's a little introduction to rote. Now, I'm going to show you a video of how I used rote teaching and a spot the difference approach to great effect to teach 300 drunk people how to sight sing. So this was when I did an Ignite talk, and the format of an Ignite talk is that it's run in a nightclub or a pub. It's completely open to the public. Anybody can apply to do an Ignite talk, and you've got 5 minutes only, and you only get 20 PowerPoint slides, and those slides advance automatically every 15 seconds. You have no control over when the slides advance. It's automatic every 15 seconds. So you have to rehearse with your slides a lot. And I was changing the slides and getting these people to actually read music as we go. and it was quite hilarious. So I thought I'd show you this video. It goes for 5 minutes because there are 20 slides, and you'll obviously be able to read the music and sing it very easily, but keep an eye on some of the people in the front row who are looking a little bit dazed. So now when you see the front screen that they put, the people at the Ignite organization decided on this slide for the, can you see the Ignite Talk slide at the moment with the banana on it? They put this there. Who knows why they chose a banana, but at least it was yellow. Okay, here we go.
Hello, tonight I'm going to teach you to sight sing, which is to sing a melody and read the music at the same time. And even if that looks like gobbledygook to you right now, in 5 minutes when this slide comes back, you will all be able to sing it and follow it. So we're going to start off with just a single bar of music. On the left there, that's a swirly thing called a treble clef. And then there are 3 notes. I'm going to sing them to you. I would love it if you would sing it back. Mi, re, do. Mi, re, do. Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's go to 2 bars. Second bar's different. I'll sing all of this to you and then you sing it back. Mi, re, do. Mi, mi, mi. Mi, re, do. Mi, mi, mi. Perfect. Okay, we can add a 3rd bar. And the 3rd bar is just exactly the same as the 1st bar. So we can sing all of this. Here we go. Mi, re, do. Mi, mi, mi. Mi, re, do. You guys are awesome. So now we're going to add a 4th bar. And you can see the 4th bar is exactly the same as the 3rd and the 1st. So let's sing all these 4 bars. Mi, re, do. Mi, mi, mi. Mi, re, do. Mi, re, do. Brilliant. Okay, let's put all those 4 bars in a box at the top. Now, can you see there's a box at the bottom with a slight difference? In bar 2, we have more notes. Can you sing this? Mi, 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 mi. Mi, 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 mi. Excellent. So that's the only difference. We're going to start with the mi, re, do and sing our 4 bars. Here we go. Mi, re, do. Mi, 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 mi. Mi, re, do. Mi, re, do. You guys are fantastic. Let's put this all in a box at the top. And can you see at the box in the bottom, there's a slight difference. In bar 3, there are quite a few notes and it's fun to sing. So, la, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. That's fabulous. So let's put that into our melody, starting with the mi, re, do. Here we go. Mi, re, do. Now just the mi's. Mi, 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 mi. How high? So, la, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. Mi, re, do. That is so good. Okay, let's play Spot the Difference again. So, what do you see? What's different in the bottom box? That's right. In bars 1 and 4, we have more notes. Can you sing this? Mi, mi, re, re, do. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Brilliant. So now our new melody just starts and ends like that. Here we go. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Mi, 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 mi. So, la, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Fantastic singing. I'm so happy. Okay, let's compare the difference again. What do you see in the bottom box? That X there in the second bar, that's a clap. So can you do this? Mi, 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 mi. Mi, 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 mi. Brilliant. So that's the difference in the second bar. So now let's do our 4 bars. Here we go. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Mi, 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 mi. So, la, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Absolutely brilliant. Let's spot the difference again. Okay. So what do you see that's different in the bottom box? More claps. Exactly. In bars 1 and 4. Can you do this? Mi, mi, re, re, do. Mi, mi, re, re, do. You read that beautifully. So let's do this all from the beginning. Here we go. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Mi, 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 mi. So, la, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Fabulous. Now this is the Ignite main part. So let's do this one again. And with louder singing and louder claps. Here we go. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Mi, 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 mi. So, la, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. Mi, mi, re, re, do. Absolutely brilliant. Now here is a different part. There's a harmony part and you can join in with this one if you would like. Here goes. Mi, fa, so, fa, mi. Mi, fa, so, fa, mi. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, do. Okay, so we're going to put that all together. Let's have a rehearsal of just the first part. The main part is mi, mi, re, re, harmony part at the same time. Here we go. Mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. See? Didn't that sound awesome? Okay, let's have a rehearsal of just the last bar. The harmony part is do, ti, do. Do that if you want to. Or the main part, mi, mi, re, re, do. Together. Do, ti, re, do. Oh, see, that sounds so good. We can put this all together now from the beginning. So we've gone from 0 to muso. Here we are. From the mi, here we go. Mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. Mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. So, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, do. Yeah! You're amazing! It's so awesome!
Okay, so that was lots and lots of non-musicians being able to sight sing, and it all came from me teaching the first bit purely by rote, just mi, re, do. That's all they learned, and that was by rote. So I thought to myself, well, if I can teach 300 people how to sight sing who don't already know how to read music, then I could teach pretty much any non-musician how to sight read a piece on the piano using the same approach. So I made up the 10 level non-musician challenge, and this is a free piece on the Rote Repertoire site, and I'm going to show it to you now. So we've got there's going to be 10 levels here, and we've got, I'm going to show you the 10th level. This is basically the final piece. Now when you look at this, maybe you could put something in the chat. What method, which number method book would you consider finding this piece in? It's certainly not a piece that you would give to stone cold beginners. I'm sure you agree. So, you know, whereabouts would you find this? Which number method book, or after how many years of teaching would you expect a student to be able to sight read this? What do you think? So some people are saying like level 1, Bastian, method book 2. I had a look through we've got to keep in mind that the key signature here is E major. We've got to keep in mind that there are ledger lines, and we've got to keep in mind that there is syncopation. So whereabouts in a method series would this piece be appropriate? Yeah, level 4. So when we take those things into account, it's actually a lot later than a beginning. However, it's really, really, really easy to play. And the way I teach this to non-musicians is to start off with level 1, and I just teach them the first 2 bars. I don't even put the music in front of them, and we can even play it now if you like. So I show them the 3 black notes and tell them to start on the middle one, and then I show them how to play just the first 2 bars. Okay, so that's just the first 2 bars, and we vocalize that. So it's got some syncopation in there. Okay, and then I put the music in front of them and I say, right, this is what you just played, and now what do you notice about this next bit? And they always say, oh, it's the same. And then in the next bit, they can see, there's sort of, the notes aren't colored in, and this is non-musicians I'm doing this with. And so I show them that we're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. And then they can play level 1. Okay, so this is the very first level. So how about we just all have a go through level 1 together, then we're going to whiz through the other levels. Here we go. Okay, so we get kind of 3 goes of playing those first 2 bars. It makes it quite easy. All right, so let's go to level 2. Can you spot the difference there? Did you see what happened? I'll just go back up to level 1, and then I'll go to level 2 again. Can you see the difference? In bars 5 and 6, we changed to crotchets. So we're just going. That's easy to do. Okay, so then we've got, here's the difference between level 2 and 3. So did you see what happened there? Now we've got different rhythm. We've got. Oh, whoops, let's go back to level 2, I forgot to point out that bar 3 goes up instead of going down. So we've got it going the other way. And every single person I've ever tried this with who's a non-musician can see, oh, it's just going the other way. And they can intuit that it would be played the other way, starting with their thumb. Okay, so that was level 2. Then level 3 is the same, but with some extra quavers. Obviously, your non-musician friend. Oh, I mean, I encourage you to try this out on your accountant friends and your nursing friends, and because it's really fun. Anybody who can't already read music. So level 3 has the quavers, except they won't call them that. It'll just be more notes, and you'll explain there faster. Then level 4, they will see that, oh, now the left hand has some of those faster rhythms. So we get in bars 5 and 6. Okay, I'm just whizzing through here. If you were teaching this, I've got a video in the pack of me teaching this to my very non-musical aunt. So it demonstrates exactly how you would do it. And so here's level 5. Did you spot that difference? This is interesting. I'll go back to level 4. And now here's level 5. Have you seen that the left-hand note has changed? So now bars 5 and 6. Okay, so now we've got our thumb playing the B, which they don't find hard to do at all. And E major is such a nice, comfortable hand position. Then we're going to level 6, where the right hand changes. Lots of changes in bars 5 and 6. And because the hand is already set up in this nice, comfortable E major position, it's a no-brainer reading it. It doesn't matter that there's a key signature of 4 sharps. It's the hand position set up that matters. Then here's level 7. So now we have that new note that we had in bars 5 and 6. That's in bars 2 and 4 and 8. So we have, and they're just keeping that rhythm. And so this is not hard to play. And then in level 8, ooh, we have some extra notes. Now we're going to do some hands together things. And most people I've tried this with, it doesn't matter that they've never seen music before, their intuition tells them that these must all be played together. Oh, sorry. Okay, then we get to level 9, and now we've got a little special ending. And then here is level 10, where we jump up to high notes in bars 6 and 8. And what I like to tell all my students is that when music suddenly jumps up higher, that usually means we're going up to the next set of notes that's the same, because it's a repeating pattern. It's called up an octave. So if we just play the second line here, well, actually, let's play all of level 10 together if you're at a keyboard, or just have a listen if you're not. Here we go. Okay, so that is a little piece that you can teach to non-musicians. Now, here is my aunt's reaction when she was shown level 10 for the first time. She'd already been through 9 levels. We'd been playing for about, maybe this video has been going for about 22 minutes at this point.
And now here it is, the last level.
Oh,
you have done
God.
the best job.
Oh, that's
What?
upside down. That's another note. Oh, they're all upside down. They're
Okay.
upside down.
So this one is here, right? Now here's your little challenge. All you've got to do is you jump up to the next set of 3. You know how you're starting in the middle black note here?
Yes.
You jump up to the next middle note and
Oh
play it
my
up
God.
there instead. So you will have to just glance down. Still use these 2 fingers. It's the same. It's going to be exactly the same. So it's going to look like this. Then jump up to this one instead. And then jump back down for the ending.
Oh, right.
Do you want to try that?
Okay, so that was her reaction. But then she had a couple of goes, and then here is her performance of level 10.
this one. It's
This one.
yes. So good.
So I had so much fun doing that. And I hope that you will try this out. As many people who are willing, just grab anybody you know who does not know how to read music and who does not know how to play piano, and they'll be so chuffed with themselves that after about 25 minutes, half an hour, they will be able to play that piece. And yes, Samuel says, funny how we take stuff like upside down notes for granted. Yeah, it's so cool to hear the reactions of things that people notice on the page that we don't see anymore because we're so used to reading this language. Okay, so that is the 10-level non-musician challenge. And that is on the Bliss Books website, and it's part of your live bonus today, but you can go and download that anytime. So now I would like to show you that I'm going to demonstrate some other pieces. And so what we want to do is, we'll just go back to here. Okay, so that is included in your free month. Then, please. Okay, right. All the pieces that I'm going to show you now do not have 10 levels. They have 3 levels because 10 levels would be absolutely, completely and utterly overkill. So what happens is that in level 1, that is the one that is taught by rote. So first we play it, then we look at the music. Then level 2, we look at the music first. We spot the difference with level 1. Just like we were doing with those 10 levels, just like we did in the warm-up, and just like I was doing in the Ignite talk. And then in level 3, it's the same process. So level 3 is kind of the real piece, if you like, and that's how we get from rote to reading in 3 levels. So the first piece that I'm going to show you today is a little piece called Copycat. This is for beginners. So in the first 6 months of learning. Now, here's the music. Now you're probably thinking, what? We can't give that to a beginner. It's far too complicated on the page. Well, of course it's complicated on the page, but the idea is that we are not focusing on what is on the page. We are focusing on the sound. That is what is important. And it doesn't matter that it looks complicated on the page. What's important is that this is really, really easy to play. So I want you to imagine that you haven't seen this music. And the first thing I would teach to a student is I would just ask them to copy me. So I would play. And I would get them to play those 3 black notes and get louder the second time. And then once they were doing that, I would add on, I would say, okay, and then the third time we're going to add on the next black note down. Get louder. Get louder. And then 2 claps. Okay, and so I would teach the piece by rote. There was no music in front of the student. And I would be showing them how to play this. And then my student would be playing it back to me with dynamics, with articulation, because that's how I've showed it to them. And so level 1 basically explores the keyboard, and even though it's notated there, they can play any of the lower of the 2 black notes they like. So they can go like this. Sorry, higher of the 2 black notes. They can do that. So I'm showing them that they're finding that it's all about keyboard geography, trying to find the 3 black notes, trying to find the 2 black notes. Okay, so that is Copycat level 1. Then after they've played level 1 for about a week, I would get them to spot the difference with level 2. Now, even a preschooler can spot the difference between 2 pictures. So here's level 1 again. And what happens in level 2, they will notice, is that the X's disappear. And so they just become notes instead. So instead of clapping, we are now going to play the notes. And actually everything else stays the same. And then they might play level 2 for a week. This is for a beginner student. Now, if it's an adult beginner, you're just going to maybe spend a couple of minutes on each of these levels because they'll get it really, really quickly. And then if we go to level 3, see the difference here. Did you see what happened there? So now in the last line, we actually have alternating notes. And then very loud. And it can be anywhere on the piano. Now, I've got backing tracks to go with this, so if you would like to play along, I'm going to put the backing track on. It's going to give us 4 beats to count in, and we can all play level 3 of Copycat. Here we go. Pretty easy. It would be taught probably over a period of 3 weeks for a young beginner, say age between 4 and 6. But the older the beginner, the faster you can do it. And I would teach this piece to a transfer student who was playing Chopin nocturnes that they couldn't read. This is a really great way to relate music to the score for people whose sight reading is no good. So you teach them a really easy piece and then you're getting them to relate to the score. Now, it doesn't matter that we don't understand all the elements on the page. It is fine that there are 6 flats there and we don't explain that key signature. It's fine that we don't have to understand P and F and accents. Feel free to go into as much as that as you want, but it's the idea is to get a general idea of what's happening on the score. We're teaching a piece by rote, but that doesn't mean that we cannot relate it to reading. And the more relating we do, the better the reading becomes in the long run. So that is an example of a 1-hat piece of Copycat. Now, there's a hat system for all the pieces in the series. So a 1-hat piece is for 0 to 6 months of learning, all the way up to a 4-hat piece for 2 years plus of learning. So the idea is that the entire range is actually geared towards beginners. I actually ran every single piece. There's almost 150 pieces in the series now. I ran every single piece past Julie Nur of Piano Safari because she's an expert in beginners. I ran them past my colleague Brenda Hunting, who's a Taubman expert in Brisbane. And I ran them past my composing friend Michelle Matter for just general quality content. And I made sure that all the pieces were really ergonomic and contemporary and relatable. And so they've been categorized, and this gives you a rough idea of what you could give to any student. However, I give any of these pieces to pretty much all of my intermediate and advanced students. All of them. I use these pieces with every student, almost every lesson. It doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter the ability, because it's a fantastic sight reading tool and creativity tool, which we'll come to later on. So on to the next piece, which is a 4-hat piece. And this one is called Disco. So you will see immediately on the score, there's a lot more going on. Now, to teach this by rote would have to be in stages. And I would never just try and teach this piece by rote without the student ever having heard it before. So I would send them, I've got a YouTube video of this, I've got a special YouTube channel for rote repertoire pieces. I would make sure that they listen to level 1 and, or I could send them the audio file, and maybe we'd do some dancing and some rhythmic activities to it to set them up so that we're not going in cold, because it's hard to remember rote pieces and it's not as relatable if we've never heard it before. So Disco is kind of based on, it's kind of inspired by Eye of the Tiger. You know Eye of the Tiger. Who knows this piece? Okay, and it's also kind of inspired by our Spanish chords warm-up. It's basically got that in it. So the intro is really easy to teach by rote. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. I would just do a rhythmic activity with them. All thumbs. And then we've got... And then that repeats. So the left hand is completely static on the A's, and the right hand is just moving down in thirds. And then we've got an outro similar to the intro. So now we're going to whiz through this. So back to level 1. You would teach that by rote. You would send them home with a video reminder, because of course they're always going to forget because they have too many activities on. And then after they've been practicing that for a while, when they come to their next lesson, you say, well, this is what you just played. That would be the time to give them the music. Or if they're an intermediate student, you might sort of do a semi-rote teaching. You could teach a little bit by rote and then put the music in front of them. It works so well for students who are worried about their sight reading or feel their sight reading is poor, or for students who are brilliant pianists and are very behind in their sight reading. So we play level 1 first, then we see it, then we spot the difference with level 2. So here it comes. And the difference here is that the left hand is now following the right hand. So we have it changing. And so on. So when the right hand third goes down, the left hand note changes as well. So then they would have a go of playing that. You might send them home with level 2 that week. And then they'll come back the next week and they will be fine playing it. And then we can spot the difference with level 3. And in level 3, we now have some groovy things going on in the introduction, in the intro and the outro. And the right hand jumps down to lower notes. And I use this language all the time with students, that if things are suddenly a lot lower or a lot higher, it usually means it's an octave jump. This is a clue that I realize, when we are sight reading, when we're scanning things, these are the things that all good sight readers do. We're kind of making educated guesses as we go. So when students are spotting the difference, they're also scanning the music, and scanning is the exact skill we need for good sight reading. We want to be noticing what's happening on the score, and we want to be picking up the differences. So I've got a backing track for this one as well, and this is included in the digital packs. Consist of 3 levels of music, a teacher guide, the audio files for each of those pieces, and there's video tutorials that you can view. The audio files are downloadable, the PDFs are downloadable and are studio licensed, and I'm gradually adding backing tracks to all the packs. And I have had an ex-student, Lucy Kong, doing this for me. So here is the disco backing track. Let's have a go at playing it if you're near a keyboard, or just enjoy listening. Lots of fun, and a student who's only been learning for 1.5 years or so can easily manage that. And the thing about this series is that it's quite possible that you would never see this in a method book of somebody who's only 1.5 years into it, because the notation is too complicated. And so that's a shame. We don't want to limit students to what they should play just because of what they can and can't read. So we want to have some elements of rote teaching, and we can have the whole score in front of them, and it doesn't matter if they don't understand every single element. They can still have the experience of playing a really interesting and satisfying piece, and they can read most of the elements of it and see what's going on. And this is what takes the stress out of score reading and makes them better sight readers in the future. Okay, so that's disco. Now I'm going to show you one more piece, which is also included in your live bonus today. So you've got Copycat, you've got disco, and you've also got raindrops. This is the latest new release, which is included in the mini monthly package. So what happens is in the there's some sampler subscriptions, mini monthly, 6-month sensation, and 1-year wonder. And you get starter packs, and then you also get the rotating new releases as they come up, or an archived piece that is being featured. And so you have 1 month access to that, and you can go and download it and get it for your students. So this is Raindrops, a completely different vibe, and this is a 3-hat piece, so potentially easier than disco, or technically easier, more accessible. So this piece is in the right hand stays in a position, a G major hand position the whole time, up high, and left hand has 3 positions, a 5th on G, a 5th on E, and a 5th on F. And they're the only positions. So once again, I would be teaching this by rote first. If it's a student who has only been learning for a year or so, I'm not going to be putting the music in front of them. I'm going to get them to copy me. And I do pedaling very early on with all my students, but it sounds fine with or without pedal. First, I would get them to just play that much back to me. That's all. So when I teach by rote, I'm teaching just little fragments at a time that they're playing back to me. But also what's really important is that they've listened to the piece at home, or they can continue to listen to it at home after you've taught it to them, so that they can have a video reminder. So I teach it just maybe 2 bars at a time in fragments, and then gradually extending it. And there's always a lot of repetition, and I'll be doing some describing that the right hand is either skipping or stepping. So let's imagine that we've already learned all of level 1 by rote. And you can see that it gets more sparse in line 4, where the right hand just drops out. So there's a reason for that. Here's what happens in level 2. Oh yes, I meant to say that we have a whole YouTube channel devoted to level 1 reminder videos. Because, as you know, you teach your students something by rote, and that their piano lesson on Monday, and then on Tuesday they have swimming, Wednesday karate, Thursday ballet, and Friday tennis. And they don't play it till Saturday, and they can't remember it. So it's very important that they have some sort of reminder. So you can send them the link to any piece. I also get them to subscribe to the channel, get the parents to subscribe so they can go find it. So now here's level 2. Now this looks more complicated, but it's so easy to play. When they spot the difference and they can see that there's complicated things going on in the left hand, I say, well, yes, instead of the notes being played at the same time, now they're just being played one after the other. Then they can see that line 2 is almost identical, just fewer notes at the end. Line 3, almost identical again, but the right hand's down an octave. And then the rain is clearing, so then the right hand drops out completely. So it's meant to be very ethereal and pretty. And then the next week, or for an advanced student, where you're doing this as a sight reading or creative activity, the next minute, you show them level 3, spot the difference between the 2 copies and say, okay, what's happening now? And they'll be able to see the subtle differences in the melody, that there's more skipping and stepping happening. And usually their eyes will go straight to the end with a little gliss at the end, a little bit of sunshine that comes out at the end. So let's have a go of all playing Raindrops level 3 now, and I'll put the backing track. That started earlier than I thought it would. Okay, let's try that again. Here we go. My students will love that last bit. They just love it that the sun comes out. So that is a 3-hat piece, Raindrops. So once again, just to reiterate, level 1 is the one that is taught by rote, or at least elements of it by rote. And if you have a more advanced student that needs help with sight reading, you can do semi-rote teaching where you do have the score in front of them, but you're kind of showing them how to set up their hand position. Once we've got our hands set up in a position of a key, and we can see that there are repeating elements on the score, sight reading is much more accessible and relatable. So level 1, play, then look. Level 2, spot the difference first. Ask your students to actually articulate the differences that they see. Some of those differences you might need to show them by rote. Okay, that's going to sound like this, that's going to sound like that, but that's okay. That's okay. This is how we learn to read. And then the same approach with level 3. So the whole series is designed to be taught like that, with every student starting at level 1 and going through to level 3. So depending on the age, that process might take 3 weeks, or that process might take seriously less than 3 minutes, but they get very confident with their sight reading. Okay, then I want to talk about the next concept, which is very dear to my heart. It's something that started out as just, I thought it would be just a peripheral, maybe extra, but it has become the main part of my teaching. And that is that I ask my students to go home and create a level 4. I say, okay, well, can you do your own level 4? And they're like, oh yeah, okay. Well, because they've essentially just had 3 variations of the same piece. So it's no drama to go ahead and do their own variation. So when I say this become the focus of my teaching, I guess this has been something that I incorporate into every lesson. And I want to tell you that I was never taught like this. So I had an extremely traditional upbringing. I had a strict Russian piano teacher. I never played a single note that I did not read off a page. I was never asked to make anything up. It never occurred to me. I would never think of changing what was on the page. So this is very, very different to how I was taught, but I'm glad I teach like this now, because what I found is that it really inspires much more joy in my studio, and it makes my students actually engage with the music more, and I find out so much more about their tastes and their various loves and hates of different elements of music. And it means they have autonomy and ownership and agency over what they're playing. So what I have done is, in every single pack, apart from all the studio licensed PDFs and the teacher guides, I've also included a video tutorial of me showing my ideas for what you could do with a level 4. Now, these are teacher videos. So these are not something that you would show to your students, but this is something you would view as a teacher if you felt that you were a bit stuck for ideas on what to do for level 4. So I'll just show you now the one that I did for raindrops. Okay, let's do this. Oh, all right. We have a tiny little glitch. So I will just show you my 3 ideas for teaching raindrops. Okay, so here we go. So here are 3 ideas that you could use. So the first one could be that you could just change the rhythm. You could change the articulation and the rhythm, and you could make it sound less flowy. So you could go. So that's the first idea, to change the articulation and the rhythm. The second idea is you could completely change the register as well. And if you wanted to, you could make the middle note a black note and B flat, and we could make this sound much more sinister, much more like a storm. It sounds really scary. Or even. And when I play this for my students, I find that they will either have an excited look on their face, or they'll screw up their nose and go, oh, I don't like that. That's the best thing, because you get a reaction out of them. And so a third idea is that you could actually just keep it very similar. This would be more for reluctant creatives. You could just reverse what's on the page. everything backwards, or even put the left hand in the right hand and the right hand in the left hand. So just get them trying things out. So these are the ideas that I gave to my student Alexandra, and I'm hoping that this will play for you. Here is Alexandra's rendition of level 4.
Hi, my name is Alexandra and I'll be playing Raindrops Level 4.
She's gorgeous, isn't she? Okay, so she was pretty comfortable with doing that. But what do you do with students who are less comfortable? So here's something that I like to use, a decide now wheel, where what we do is I've actually entered into a decide now wheel all the possibilities that you could have for how you could change it. So add an intro, change the tonality, handedness, like swap the melody into a different hand, change key, articulation, dynamics. We spin the wheel. This is a great app. And then wherever it lands on, that's what they've got to change. So when they're fraught with decision making, it's kind of made for them. So this is a really great thing to do. And I think in your follow-up goodie bag, there's this list. This list is there for you to enter into a decide now wheel yourself if you would like to, or just have the list numbered, say 1 to 16, and then just, if you play Dungeons and Dragons and you've got a 16-sided die, just throw that. Whatever number it lands on, that is what they've got to do. Another great thing to do is for more reluctant composers is that if they're really, really stuck, because I do this, it doesn't matter what age, if they're really stuck, I say, okay, I'm going to play Raindrops differently and you tell me what I'm doing. Okay. And then they describe to me what I'm doing. Oh, you're playing the left hand super loud and you're holding it. And then I will do it again differently. I'll go. Okay, what am I doing now? And they'll say, oh, it's up really high and you've made it faster. And then I'll say, okay, your turn. You play it differently. Now they can already play level 3 proficiently before we're starting to do this. And then it becomes a game. I'm asking them, okay, it's your turn. See if I can guess what you're doing. I need to guess what you're doing. And we just do a little fragment and they're trying it different ways. And that's basically it. It gives them some level 4 ideas. So are there any other questions about how I tend to approach level 4 before I show you another couple of students who rose to the task that I gave them? If you do have a question, pop it in the chat. And now, Katrina said, what tends to be the minimum age at which average non-musician children can do that on the spot? Oh, okay, this is for the non-musician thing. I have been doing the non-musician thing with adults mostly. As for children, they can do it. I would often do that maybe in a trial lesson with maybe a 7-year-old, I would say. I haven't done it with younger than that. They need to be have some sort of physical facility at the piano. So 4 and 5-year-olds don't have a lot of control over their fingers yet. So whereas like you could see with my auntie, she hadn't played piano, but she still had quite some control over what her fingers were doing. Okay, so what I would like to show you now level 4 wise is the little challenge that I threw out. I didn't have any level 4 videos of the piece Disco. Remember, this one was the one based on Eye of the Tiger. This one. So what I did was I sent it out in Tonara. Not sure how many of you use Tonara. I love it because I can set repertoire assignments for my students and just send it all out. and I sent them levels 1, 2, and 3 of the sheet music. I sent them the video, the YouTube level 1 performance video, and I said, anybody who sends me back their own original level 4 of disco in the next 10 days will get a huge chocolate bar when we go back to teaching, when we start back at school. And this brother and sister duo sent them back almost instantly. So these are intermediate students. They're sort of maybe doing like getting to grade 2-ish kind of music. So they were able to learn levels 1, 2, and 3 of disco all by themselves and then make up a level 4. So the first one that I'm going to play to you is Sam's, and his goes for about 53 seconds, just to let you know. And you will hear in his version of disco that it has quite a lot of rhythmic variety, but I want you to listen out for when he goes like this. Like that. It's really cool. I suspect that his second last note, E, may not have been intended, but he absolutely nails it and makes it part of the piece. So here is Sam's level 4 of disco. So I love that. I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. So I asked Sam what his favorite chocolate was, and he said just good old dairy milk. So he's getting that when he comes back. Right, so that was awesome. Now, his older sister, Ella, hers goes for about 45 seconds. She transposed it to C major, interestingly, and sort of C mixolydian, actually. She's got a B flat in it, and she's got a G minor chord in it. You'll hear that. Now, if she had been in the lesson, I might have even suggested some further changes, like an A flat chord, to make it like a true kind of Andalusian cadence in that key. But hers is really interesting. I really loved what she did, and it's rhythmically a little bit more simple for the intro, you'll hear, but and it keeps the basic feel with the double notes. So here is, okay, here is Ella's. So she did that completely on her own, and so did Sam. And so Ella is getting, apparently her favorite chocolate is caramel. So this is white chocolate with a caramel swirl. Personally, I'm a dark chocolate person. Okay, so that was done. Now they've had a lot of experience doing level 4s with me. I've done lots and lots of my Rote Repertoire pieces with them. And so they're pretty used to it, but they love it. And it's just so fun, and it got them, apparently, as soon as I sent out that message in Tonara, they were like straight at the keyboard. So it was just a really fun activity to get them to do. Okay, so I wanted to tell you maybe what my top 5 reasons are for teaching Rote Repertoire, and also my top 5 priorities whenever I'm creating any new piece. So the first is that the piece has to be ergonomic. So all of the pieces are in a nice comfortable hand position and a nice comfortable key. There is no such thing as both thumbs on middle C. That's actually very bad for a young student's technique. So they're all in keys and hand positions that suit alignment and can make piano playing easy. The next thing is that they all have to be highly patterned, because when music is highly patterned, it's easy to spot repetition, it's easy to understand what's going on, and helps sight reading a lot. The next one is that they all have to be relatable. So all of the titles of the pieces make a lot of sense. They somehow describe what is going on in the piece, and all of the sounds are contemporary. They also help to improve sight reading because of the three above reasons, and that is my goal in teaching every piece, and that it needs to inspire creativity. So there's always going to be something further that they can do with every piece. So it is a digital series, and it's all on roterepertoire.com, and all the music is studio licensed. In terms of who it's most suitable for, I use it for all ages and all abilities, but it works particularly well for students who are scared of score reading and for dyslexic students who find score reading incredibly horrifyingly scary. My friend Becky Laurent, she is a huge expert on teaching dyslexic students, and she has found that rote repertoire has really worked for them because they can already relate to the sound. It's sound before symbol, but the idea of putting the score in front of them and saying, this is what you just played, takes all the stress out of it, and they can spot the difference. And I wanted to read you a testimonial from my friend Marie Lee. She sent this to me yesterday because I don't think she could attend today, but she just said, can I just say how much I love the new backing tracks you're adding? Your rote pieces continue to be my #1 favorite. Keep them coming. So that made my day. That made me very happy. So I wondered if we have any questions. Beth, did you spot any particular questions that?
Yes, I have been taking notes. Let's do some rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yes.
How much time do you spend on rote repertoire in each lesson?
5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay. Would you recommend doing this every second or third week instead of weekly if you have students doing exams?
Yes, it's like the nice rest in the lesson if we're doing exams. You might not be able to get it every week, but yeah, every fortnight works well. But what I do find is that the students are requesting to do it first.
Oh, awesome. How many pieces have been written with adult beginners in mind?
Oh, heaps, lots and lots of them. And teenage beginners and adult beginners. The pieces suit really all beginners, and whenever I have an adult beginner doing a slightly more sort of kidsy sounding piece, I will just say to them, look, this is what I give to my young students, but it works really well because of blah, 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 blah. And when an adult is told what the learning outcomes are, they're happy to do anything and they just whiz through it. But certain pieces, there's a description on the site of every piece, and it will say if it's particularly appealing to adult beginners.
Fab. Do you still use traditional method books in addition to rote learning?
That's a very good question. The only method book that I use occasionally is Piano Safari, because I like the way that it has some rote pieces and some reading pieces. And in fact, Piano Safari was the inspiration that I had to try rote teaching and then to write this series. So in Piano Safari, you have some pieces that are supposed to be taught completely by rote, and some pieces that are supposed to be taught by reading. And I just thought I'm going to bring those two concepts together in a single piece. The problem with most method books is that it's very restrictive, so we're only playing pieces that we can read, which means that sometimes the pieces are not as interesting as they could be, or we're very key-centric. We're stuck in middle C, both thumbs on middle C, or we're stuck in certain keys for a long time, and we don't get to explore the keyboard.
Are the tempos on the backing tracks adjustable?
That's a good question. So at the moment they're not, but all you have to do is open them up with, I've got my little app that does this, which is such a fantastic app. Let me just figure out what's it called. It's called Transcribe, and you can just play any MP3 file, and it's all, it is tempo adjustable but it's also pitch adjustable, which is fun for level 4 because we can get them to transpose it. So the files are, the audio files, are, the backing tracks are MP3 files. All you've just got to do is download onto your phone and then play that through the Transcribe app. With the disco backing tracks, there are 3, there's a set that is at a slower tempo because that is hard to get up to speed.
Perfect. For level 4, do students write or play? I think someone wondered if...
That is such a good question. I never ask them to write it down. In fact, I say specifically, don't write it down, just play it, have it in your head. I encourage them to make little recordings of their ideas and then expand on them the next day. Writing down music is very time consuming and very complicated and not necessary. Sometimes they can write down their ideas of what they're going to do, higher, lower, faster, slower. They can write those down in words. If they're really interested in music notation, that's fantastic, and we might get to that eventually. But for that first time of trying out level 4, I really want them to be going according to sound, not according to symbol.
Awesome. And I think that's it. It does look like Katrina Breen wants to know if there are other method books that you'd recommend as acceptable in conjunction with rote learning. And I think you're pretty much a piano safari girl, but if anyone else has suggestions, maybe they can put those.
I do like repertoire collections. So I don't tend to teach in a method. I give my students repertoire that they like. And meanwhile, I mean, I'm big on sight reading. I have written a sight reading series. There's books, beginner and 1, 2, and 3. So all of my students will have pieces that they're currently doing. They'll have sight reading books that they're going through. They may or may not have a theory book that they're going through, and they have some rote repertoire pieces to improve sight reading and get them creative. And then I might get them to do technical work that is related to the pieces that they're playing. But that is a method. You're covering all these different things. What method books are trying to do is make it easy for the teacher and have a curriculum all set out. You don't need to do that if you're just covering these elements with the resources that you want to have. And that is why I tend not to use method books, because I feel like I already have the resources that cover all these different elements of music.
Awesome. I think that covers pretty much everything I saw.
Okay, well, that is exciting. So now it's time to talk about your bonuses. So let's talk about live bonus number 1, which is a free month of the free mini monthly. So I'll just show you this screen. So the free month is $40 worth of value. There are 6 starting packs, including Copycat and Disco and the Non-Musicians Challenge. And there are teacher guides and videos and audio tracks that I told you about, and ongoing access to every new release. So your first month is free. After that, it's $8 a month. It's very economical. Currently, Raindrops is in there. And also, there's another bonus in there at the moment. Semi-Disco is in there, which is the piece that I showed in yesterday's webinar, if you happen to have come to that. So there's lots in there for this free month. So the link to get that for free is going in the chat. You need to go and access that in the chat now. If you happen to be watching the replay, you'll get sent a link for the first month to be just $2. So you haven't missed out completely. Our sampler subscriptions. So we have mini monthly, 6-month sensation, and 1-year wonder. These are very economical ways to buy Rote Repertoire because they have the starter packs and then the new releases. So because the whole series is valued at over $1,500, all of the pieces. There's 20 to 30 pieces at least of each category, and there are bundles and there are duets and all sorts of things. So if you want full access to all of those pieces, full, like a permanent license, then you could get lifetime packages, or you could have a 1-year package. So $400 a year for access to the entire catalog, which is currently $1,500, but growing all the time because I keep releasing new pieces. Then there's a lifetime. This is a one-off payment, and then you have full and permanent access forever. And there's also premium lifetime, where you get a whole lot of extra things, including a 1-hour one-on-one session just with me, and hard copies, a couple of hard copies of the book version of Blitzbook's Rote Repertoire, which is only available in Australia. And so the special today for you, and this is whether you're live or watching replay, is that we've got an extra $100 off the Yearly Pro, an extra $200 off the Lifetime Pro, and an extra $300 off the Premium Lifetime. So we've got $100 off Yearly, $200 off Lifetime, or $300 off Premium Lifetime, and those links are going to be sent to you, and they're valid for a whole week. Well, everybody, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It has been my absolute pleasure having you all with me today, and I hope that it's inspired you to give rote teaching a try and to link rote teaching with sight reading, because I think it goes beautifully. And not only that, to give creativity a try and to inspire your students to try composing. And keep in mind that I never did any of that growing up, and I'm not a composition teacher. I don't even see myself as a composer, but I am doing this with my students and they're having a great, great time. So thank you so much again, and I hope to see you all soon, and we'll send you an email. There'll be a goodie bag with all those specials listed in it. And I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Thank you. Bye.